Everyone who's worked in an emergency room faces the same question everywhere they go. Everyone wants to know the most bizarre case any medical professional has seen. In this video, we'll show you 10 odd things found in human bodies, sure to satisfy that curiosity, and maybe even make you think twice about asking in the future. It would be odd to not want to stay up to date with the Hub. Click subscribe to find yourself notified of the latest news and content. Dandelion. All parents know the sign of ear infections in babies. The ear pulling, fussiness, and redness are dead giveaways long before a pediatrician gets involved, and these symptoms are very common in small children. 16-month-old Ranran's parents saw these signs and assumed a simple round of antibiotics would set her straight. Ranran's parents and the doctors treating her were in for quite a surprise when she arrived at the hospital in Beijing. Inside the toddler's ear was a fully formed dandelion. A seed had somehow become lodged in the child's ear months before, and had germinated and grown into the familiar weed. The little girl's parents were aware of the seed, but thought nothing of it until the child began to cry and scratch at her ear. By the time it was discovered, the plant was pushing dangerously against the delicate tissue of the inner ear, putting Ranran at risk of internal bleeding. The treatment plan was obvious. Ranran would require surgery. The procedure took only 10 minutes, but the attending surgeons say it was no easy task. The physicians removed the 2-centimeter-long plant from Ranran's ear and report that the girl is recovering nicely. Surgical implement. We rely on the expertise and care of medical professionals when we're ill. We trust our doctors and other healthcare providers to help us recover from illness and injury. As experienced and skilled as these important care providers are, they are still human and can make mistakes. One of these mistakes had a devastating effect on 66-year-old Denka Kopekova of the Czech Republic. Denka had undergone gynecological surgery, and her recovery had not been smooth. For 5 months, she complained to her doctor of severe pain, and eventually a diagnosis was made. Stunningly, surgeons had left a foot-long spatula-like surgical implement inside of Denka's body. A top official released a statement apologizing to her and taking responsibility for the district-controlled clinic that she was treated at. The statement blamed the mishap on a series of individual failures. 4 individuals involved in the treatment of the Czech woman were fired, and the district intends to compensate Denka, who has announced her intentions to sue. She is now recovering and is no longer plagued by the intense pain she suffered while the instrument was still inside her. While many surgical procedures are perfectly safe, this procedure will surely be referenced in medical training for years to come. Have you ever wished you could see the most amazing video content all in one place? Look no further than the Premium. You'll gain access to thousands of ad-free videos from the richest, Screen Rant, The Taco, The Sportster, The Things, and more. It's free to sign up, so log on today. Best of all, you'll get the first peek at the newest content available before anyone else does. What are you waiting for? Check out the Premium and start binge watching now. Fir Tree. We all love nature, and most of us long to spend more time outdoors. But what if the outdoors spent some time in us? 28-year-old Artyom Sidorkin was an active, healthy young man who enjoyed spending time in the forests of Russia. Sidorkin began to have a persistent cough, which became more and more painful as time went on. Soon, the pain and cough were severe enough that Sidorkin sought medical treatment. Upon receiving an exam and X-ray, surgeon Vladimir Kamyshev believed Sidorkin was suffering from a cancerous tumor in his lung, and he prepared the young man for surgery to remove it immediately. Once the surgery was underway, the surgeon was so startled that he had to blink 3 times to confirm he wasn't seeing things. Inside of Sidorkin's lung was a 5-centimeter-long fir tree, complete with needles. This startling find was pressing against the capillaries in the man's lungs, and was the obvious source of his extreme pain and persistent cough. Sidorkin's medical team believes that this small tree sprouted from a seed the man had inhaled while exercising outdoors. Some claim that the seed couldn't have grown inside the lung, but the fact remains that it was inside Sidorkin's lung, regardless of how it found its way there. 9-centimeter nail. Home improvement and construction are dangerous. Between working in high locations, handling incomplete wiring, and using power tools, injuries do seem pretty inevitable, but no amount of common sense could prepare one Chicago man for the incredible injury he would sustain while working in his suburban shop. 35-year-old Dante Attulo was cleaning in his household shop when he bumped his forehead against a nail gun. He felt very little pain, and aside from a cut on his forehead, seemed none worse for the wear. The following day, Attulo felt nauseated for much of the day, causing his fiance to urge him to see a doctor. At the hospital, he underwent an X-ray, and much to the shock of all present, a 9-centimeter nail was clearly seen in the man's brain. Because there are no nerve endings inside the human brain, Dante was completely unaware that he had done anything more than nick his forehead. Amazingly, the nail had come within millimeters of an area of the brain that controls motor function. If it had been even the tiniest bit further, Dante could have been paralyzed. He underwent a 2-hour-long procedure in Oak Lawn, Illinois, to remove the nail and replace the damaged portion of his skull with a titanium mesh implant. The patient reported he felt fine and had no problems moving that same day. Eel. We've all had bathroom complaints. From going too often or not going at all, these problems can be really embarrassing, and many choose to handle treating them themselves just to protect their dignity. One 49-year-old man in China did just this, with somewhat more humiliating results than asking the doctor about laxatives. A man presented in the hospital complaining of abdominal pain. The examination and x-rays revealed the unimaginable. Inside the man's body, among his intestines, was a 20-inch-long Asian swamp eel. Emergency surgery began immediately to remove the animal, which was still alive. After the procedure was over, the medical team asked the man how the creature had found its way inside his body. At first, the man adamantly claimed that the eel had swam up his rectum on his own. After questioning, he admitted the truth. He had been constipated and complained to his friends, who told him of a home remedy to get things moving. The man was advised to insert an eel into his rectum to relieve his discomfort, and incredibly, he actually took that advice. There is no word on the efficiency of this home remedy, but it's easy to see that surgery is a much more complicated means of relief than an awkward conversation with a doctor. Coins. France is famous for its cuisine, and many would describe it as rich or heavy. One 62-year-old man would push that description with his unusual eating habits. A patient presented to doctors in a French hospital complaining of pain in his distended stomach. The patient's family described his last psychiatric treatment for chronic severe illness and his tendency to swallow coins. They also told the doctor that the man had been unable to eat or move his bowels. This information could never prepare the medical staff for what they would find in the patient's x-ray. The man had swallowed over 350 coins, with a value of about $650, as well as several needles and necklaces. The mass inside the man's stomach weighed 12 pounds, roughly as much as a bowling ball. This weight was so extreme, it drove his stomach down into his hips. The man underwent surgery to remove the coins, jewelry, and needles, and unfortunately passed away 12 days later. He was ultimately diagnosed with pica, a rare disorder which compels sufferers to ingest inedible objects. This often causes illnesses and in rare cases can be fatal. Doctors believe the man had ingested the metal and coins over the course of a decade, and it was comprised mainly of items stolen while visiting others' homes. Pea Plant. Ronan Spedden faced a long battle with emphysema for many months when his condition suddenly worsened. He and his family prepared for a cancer diagnosis. Things seemed at their worst when Ronan seemed to suffer from a collapsed lung. He was rushed to the hospital, where several tests were performed, including radiological imaging. The x-rays revealed a strained mass in his lung. Surgery was performed to remove the mass, but as soon as Ronan's chest was opened, his physicians made an incredible discovery. It wasn't a tumor in Ronan's lung, but a half-inch plant identified as a pea plant. The stunned surgeons removed the plant, which they could only assume Ronan had eaten the pea at some point, aspirated it into his lung, and the plant had somehow sprouted. During Ronan's recovery in the hospital, he was served his first post-operative meal. The vegetable? Peas, of course. Ronan's fantastic sense of humor gave him strength, as he laughed to himself and enjoyed the peas. Surely Ronan's story gives us a pause about peas, but we all know vegetables are good for you. The odd case of the pea plant in the lung shouldn't be enough to put you off your greens. Cutlery Set. Every hospital sees and treats an unfortunate number of wounds caused by sharp metals and accidents every day. This wide body of experience could never have prepared the staff in the Rotterdam hospital when 52-year-old Margaret Dahlman arrived complaining of stomach pain. An x-ray made the cause of her pain immediately obvious. Margaret had swallowed an entire cutlery set. The hospital staff rushed her into emergency surgery to remove the sharp metal from her stomach. Marjorie told doctors that every time she sat down to a meal, she was compelled to ignore the food and eat the cutlery instead. This incident was not the first time Margaret had been treated for eating cutlery either. For reasons Margaret could never explain, she didn't feel compelled to eat knives, which may be the only reason her strange eating habits had caused her no long-term problems. Margaret had been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder and had been suffering from pica, the compulsion to eat inedible objects, for many years. Pica is a mysterious and unfortunate condition about which little is known. Margaret was fortunate to recover from her unusual snacking, whereas others sadly would not have. Cobblestones. We all have ways of dealing with anger. Some people exercise, others make art, and some just eat. For one girl in Foshan, China, she chose the latter, but would soon find herself in the hospital regretting her act of rage. This 20-year-old woman went to the hospital complaining of a stomachache. As with any severe abdominal pain case, x-rays were taken. What the doctors found defies belief. This young woman had had a blowout fight with her boyfriend, and in her rage, decided to get revenge on him by eating 20 cobblestones, believing that she could easily pass them the natural way. We're sure that really showed her boyfriend. As time went on, the stones remained in her stomach, causing her severe discomfort and pain. She explained to her doctors that she could feel the stones banging against each other as she moved, which only added to the agony. Emergency surgery was performed to remove the cobblestones from this love-struck young woman's body. Nothing can be done to prevent arguments and quarrels between lovers, but perhaps the experience of emergency surgery will be enough, at least for this one young woman, to prevent any incidents like this in the future. Firearm. Foreign bodies lodged in the rectum seem to be a topic of fascination for people interested in medical rarities. Some stories are amusing, some are frightening, but this story is just bizarre. Michael Leon Ward was stopped by police in North Carolina for a routine traffic violation. During the stop, Ward was searched several times. The police found drugs and paraphernalia on Ward and arrested him on the spot. While Ward was being booked, he was strip searched and asked to squat and cough to ensure he had no contraband hidden inside his body. All seemed to be in order. However, the next day, fellow inmates had reported Ward for having contraband, and a search of Ward's cell revealed the unbelievable. In the toilet of Ward's cell was a 10-inch 38 caliber handgun that police believed he could have only smuggled into the jailhouse by hiding it in his rectum during the traffic stop. Ward was taken to a hospital to ensure he hadn't injured himself hiding the revolver in his body. The gun was found to be unloaded, but after testing, the police determined it was functional. Smuggling objects into prison and jails and body cavities is by no means a rare or new phenomenon. However, Mr. Ward's story is sure to be one of the most memorable cases. We hope you enjoyed this video on odd things found in human bodies. These surprising objects found inside the people in these stories are truly unique. Be sure to like this video if you found any of these foreign bodies just a tiny bit strange. Don't forget to like our video, and we'll see you next time.